Hey guys, so I'm getting ready to get rid of my 2012 Dyna wide glide. Gonna trade it in sometime this week when the bike comes in that I'm getting. I'll let you know on the last ride. This is probably one of my last rides on the bike. It's a beautiful Sunday. My bike is, like I said, it's a 2012. It needs a new front tire, which I would have done if I wasn't going to get rid of it. Definitely needs new grips. I can't ride it without gloves. Those are disgusting. My Vance and Hines pipe is about starting to rust. Paint's a little gone, little rust. Overall, she's still a good bike. She's got about 27 plus thousand miles on it. I bought a Street Glide Special in 2017, and I just don't ride this one that much anymore. Around town, it's got a brand new rear tire. But we're going to ride. We're just across the Mississippi River in Illinois, and we are going to just ride one of the rides I do all the time, the levee roads. So here we go. There was no traffic when I pulled in. Oh, my mirror needs replacing too. That guy's cooking, so I'll let him get by. She's still pretty fun to ride. But I just found that I do a lot of touring on the Street Glide, and this one I ride around town, but I used to call the Street Glide an old man couch, but it's comfortable, it's got a radio, and it's got storage. I commute on my bikes pretty often, and whenever it's not raining or above 40 degrees. I haven't actually ridden too much this season yet. I've been busy with other stuff. See how long I only bought one battery for my GoPro, a small one. I was kind of in a rush, so this video may not be, it may cut out at some point, unexpectedly. Mississippi River right off to my right. Missouri just on the other side. This is probably the first ride I did on this bike. When I bought it, it was my second wide glide. I had a 2011 that got stolen, like within a year or so. After insurance came in, I was in love with the bike still. I bought the exact same one, just a year later. Got a 103 engine instead of the old one. I can't tell, I could never tell any difference between the two, really. But the dealer I bought this from is about 16 miles away. And I'm pretty sure I took my maiden voyage out here. I know I did with the street glide too. I'm gonna pass this van when I can. Which is now. Hey, Cena. I don't think my Cena's working. I just turned it on. I don't know, I'm kind of feeling sad about getting rid of it now. I still like the looks of this better than my street glide. And around town it's lighter and more comfortable. Well, for short rides. I've done 2 big trips on this bike, both between 2 and 2,500 miles, or 2,000, 2,500. I did my first trip to the tail of the Dragon on this on a cold, rainy Wednesday morning in October. Actually, I rode this thing that day. I did the Dragon in the morning. I started up somewhere in Tennessee, like not quite Pigeon Forge. I was a little closer to the Dragon, but I started out in the hotel that morning, rode the Dragon early, then went all the way down to Mobile, Alabama, but I wanted to touch the Florida Panhandle, so I think I went into Pascagoula. Anyway, it rained about 10 out of 11 hours on that trip. It destroyed the cheap rain gear I had. It did not survive that ride. Of course, I was an idiot, and I was probably going 90 with this pizza cutter front end tire in pouring rain on the interstate. I had one of my scariest moments on this bike, just driving around 55, 60 on a small 2-lane road. But it was going west to east, and it was right after the last El Nino type thing that had crossed over from the Pacific over into the Gulf of Mexico. So I got hit in that big storm, and that night the crosswinds, so I'd be leaning on this side of the road, the crosswinds would be gusting, and I'd be like leaning, all of a sudden they'd stop, I'd shoot over and have to catch myself. It was just it was a butt clincher. I did the same thing out in Kansas in their crosswinds when I took it on another big trip. My street glide's heavy enough it doesn't ever really get bothered by the crosswinds. This one sure did. I'm gonna miss the exhaust on this. I kept my street glide stock exhaust because when I'm touring, I ride like 10-hour, 12-hour days usually. Try to get in usually at least 500 miles on a bit, well, normally to get to the area I'm going to, and then I'll start slowing down, stopping to smell the roses. But I'm going out to I did a what's it called, iron butt on my street glide, St. Louis to West Albuquerque, New Mexico. I never turned it in. I have all my receipts and pictures still, but I never found a witness that would sign on this back end. That was back in 2017. First year I bought that bike, I took immediately. I bought that street ride in June of 2017 after getting back from a road trip on this, where I went out to Colorado and up into Wyoming, Nebraska. Mostly I spent the time in Colorado. This bike's been up Pikes Peak. That was fun. And we went up to Mount Evans, but it was still closed. Actually, I think it's been up Pikes Peak twice. I think the first day I couldn't get to the top, and so like a day or two later it was open to the top, so I rode it all the way up. And it does fine on the trips. It's just my butt got sore, my legs get sore from not having different positions to really put them in on this bike. I think I had an air hawk. That first big trip after the Dragon, when I went down to Mobile, I went through Atlanta. I was hoping a buddy of mine that lived there was in town. He was actually away when I went through, so I didn't stop and see him. But I was a Navy Seabee, so I hadn't been back to Gulfport, Biloxi in years. So when I took it down there, I made sure to go to Gulfport, Biloxi, right around my own stopping grounds there. Then I had another buddy that he actually was still in the Navy. He was about ready to retire. He wasn't a Seabee, he was regular Navy, but he was stationed in New Orleans. So I went and rode it down to New Orleans. Got back on a Navy base for the first time. He sponsored me on, and did something I never did while I was in, was carry my own weapon. I had a .45 with concealed carry. I had to check in. When I was in the Navy, I carried them all the time, but they were always issued to me. But anyway, I thought that was funny, because technically they shouldn't have let me on, because I only had one form of ID. I wasn't planning on it. And I think they said, but the cop, I was being sponsored, he just was cool. So I got to ride on, and then I had to ride over to their armory and check it in, and check it out the next day. And then I went from New Orleans back up to St. Louis. I think that was maybe my longest day ever on this bike, or mile-wise. I think it was 700 miles that day, and I was feeling it. I was having to stop quite often. Good thing this tank isn't huge. But I'd pull off on exits and pull right over to the on-ramp and just get off and walk around. We're almost to the levees. They're not that exciting, but it's just a nice, it's not a curvy road. I've got floorboards on this bike. They need to be replaced, mini floorboards instead of pegs. But they're scraped up pretty good. It's already cut through one corner, especially on the right side. I guess I lean more on the right side. This bike really can't lean for crap. And the floorboards took some of that lean angle away. I guess in the 10 years I've had it or so, I've had a few pucker moments from, not too many. I kind of know where it will go, but I've taken a few corners a little fast and drifted out into the other lane. Luckily no cars were coming. I've hiked that, there's a trail up there. You can get up to those bluffs. I've hiked that. My speedometer's broken. I'm really going 45, just like the speed limit says. Yep, that's the trail parking lot. I just got back from hiking about a 50 mile section of the Appalachian Trail. all in North Carolina. Me and my buddy Eric, the one who lives in Atlanta, we started hiking it last year. Did about 90 miles. We did all of Georgia last year. That trail's no joke. It's up, down, down. And when you're carrying I think our packs at the start with food, they probably weighed, I think the first time our packs were heavy because it was our first big trip. His especially. I bought ultralight gear. But they were weighing close to 40 pounds with 4 or 5 days worth of food. And I probably carried way too much water on me. Ooh, butt came up. I gained a little weight between last year and this year, so it was a little tougher in North Carolina this time. We had some hellacious climbs. But we usually try to stay around 10-mile days on the trail. We did a 12. All the through hikers were out there. Be up on a levee soon. So I will record my very final ride, but it's going to be boring, just interstate. Going to a certain dealer to pick up a different bike. But I'll probably have it by the time I put this video anywhere. Mirror is irritating. I found this position because it kind of holds. They need to put a little set screw in it so I can tighten it up on the ball and it not move around. So I think I got to if I was keeping it, I'd have to replace this whole stupid stem when all it did was come loose. I put some I tried putting some silicone gasket stuff in there to hopefully see if it would, some black silicone, it didn't really help. But that dog's interested. He wants to chase. Sorry, puppy. I think I was riding this one lazy Sunday, and I didn't really pay attention, and I got out here, I think this road runs for about 10 miles or more, give or take. And I got out towards the end of it, and I was looking down at the gas gauge, and I was like, oh shit. I don't know if I got enough gas to get into any of the gas stations I knew of. So I was sitting on the side of the road, and another rider on a BMW GS stopped. He thought I was broken down or something, and we chatted. He's like, well, I know of a place where you can get gas, and followed him. It was just some old co-op, not even a tenant. You had to have a debit card to get the gas on the weekend because there was nobody there, and all they had was 87. So she got about a gallon of 87 to get me where I could get some higher octane. I would really like to have a GS, or probably even more than a GS. I think I'd probably go, at one point I leaned GS, but now I think if I was going to get an adventure bike like that, it'd be a KTM Super Adventure. Those bikes, I think they're a little more capable in the dirt. From what I've read, I don't know. I could be wrong. This was my third Harley. My first was a 2009 Sportster, 1200 Custom. Kind of a similar bike, just smaller. That one had a little bit of a rake like the Wide Glide, little skinny tire. And I liked it. Just on the highway with the only 5 gears, I was kind of wanting a 6th gear. And then I had some ignition problems that had to go in for warranty work. Kept draining the battery for no reason. And finally I just got irritated. And I decided I wanted a Wide Glide. I always liked the Wide Glide, and the Night Train used to be my favorite Harleys back in the day. A Night Train they didn't make anymore when I bought this, or when I bought my first Wide Glide. And so the Wide Glide it was. The day I woke up one day, I was walking my dog and walked out and saw my where this would be parked with a cover on it, and it was just a cover laying on the ground. I was pissed off. Never found it. It's been gone for 10 years or so. Every couple years I'll get a postcard from the county police saying they haven't found it. I'm like, okay. In the end though, I did make out, because I got a lot better deal on this one, and I had bought an extended warranty on the first one, and I don't know why I bought that in the first place. I can do my own wrenching when I want to, and the bike can't give me any problems, so that got refunded. I didn't buy another one for this bike. So in the end I actually basically came out a little bit ahead. I think this bike has a little over 27,000 miles on it, and it probably had 22-ish thousand miles on it when I bought the Street Glide. That thing's already over 30, like 34. I've had it half the time, but I've taken I've taken several big touring trips on it. I think I've done a 5,500 mile trip on that one already. So at least 15,000 miles on the Street Glider from touring, probably a little more. My goal is to hit all the lower 48 states by bike, and I'm around 30. I planned to do the Northeast when COVID hit, and that put the stop on that. That's where the bulk of the states I need for that lower 48 are. I need 3 out west still, so I have to do one more west trip. I'd like to go to Alaska. I don't know if I'd want to take my Street Glide up to Alaska through Canada. I'd like to take, that's what I'd rather take a adventure bike on, just because I've heard the roads are shit. Or not shit, but dirt. I've ridden this on dirt. My parents live down gravel road. I've ridden it down there. I've ridden my Street Glide down dirt roads to camp and stuff, but it's not my favorite thing. This one on gravel is a little sketch. Like, it's got the rake and the skinny pizza cutter up front. Pretty much stay off the front brake on that. Oh, I got somebody behind me. I've been farting around. I'm not used to anybody ever catching up to me on these roads. Usually have the levee to myself. But it's a pretty spring day after a bunch of rain. It's about 65 degrees. trying to think. I've dropped this bike twice since I've owned it. Once was on one of those it was on my trip to Colorado. I got a leg cramp and I pulled off onto the overpass, put the kickstand down, went to get off, and at the time, one of the heat shields on, right before I went on that trip, the heat shields for my Vance & Hines big radius pipes, they're held on with just hose clamps. Well, I guess they rusted away and it fell off and I lost it. I ordered a new one, but it wouldn't have been in before my trip, so I wasn't going to cancel the trip. I rode it without the heat, as the rear heat shield, it wouldn't burn my leg. But anyway, so when I went to get off the bike with that cramp, I was in such a hurry to get off. My pant leg caught on the screw, and I tipped. It caused me to fall over, and the bike tipped with me. Nothing got hurt. The other time I dropped this bike, I was parking it in at work. I rode it to work in my parking garage, and I put my foot down to get off. I just went to I was backing it up, and my foot slid on sand. There was some sand down, and I fell in that one sucked because one of my coworkers saw it, and it actually busted the rear auto license plate holder on my side plate back there. It broke it. It was kind of a pain in the butt to find just the part I needed. Harley wanted to, would only sell me, it seemed like, the whole stinking assembly. I think I found an aftermarket piece that worked just fine for like $30 versus, who knows, I can't remember with Harley. It was definitely over $100 because everything is over $100 with them pretty much. Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to, I think I've got a seat back for this thing I'm going to give them. Just it lost a spring. I bought a seat for this. Backrest, I mean, not a seat. I only rode with it on there once. That was kind of a waste of money because... Wait, did I buy one for this? No, that's for my shrink bike. I bought it 5 years ago. I've used it one time. That was a waste of money. I kind of forgot which bike I was on for a second. Because I was thinking this had the racks and stuff that my shrink bike did. Thinking these farmers grow soybeans. I'm not remembering. Sometimes that is underwater. Actually, I've got a picture of this. Maybe somewhere along here where that was all water, and there were some of those silo type things, not full silos. I don't know what they're called. The shorter, stubbier ones. It was out underwater, I think. I have to look at the picture. I did this ride one time, and I mean, I was way further along. I was probably about 20 miles or more into it. I was on my way home, and I didn't have any tools with me. I don't today either. But my linkage for my shifter came off, and it came off in a high gear. And like an idiot, I was like, well, if I can get it to the interstate, I can get it home and get my tools and just reconnect it. Yeah, this idiot burnt out a clutch. The same thing happened on the trip to Colorado. I was coming back through Nebraska. I did have tools with me there. I had just enough tools and I could just barely get my hands in there because it came off on the back, not on the front, where I'm having to squeeze my hand down in a area about that thick to slide the back half on the shaft. But so that day I burnt the clutch out from winding it out too much. I haven't getting caught at a few stoplights trying to take off in 4th or 5th. Not recommended. So I think I owned the Street Glide then, but I was riding this. I decided to take this out for a ride that day. Anyway, so I when I got the Street Glide, you buy a new Harley, you get membership to Hog for a year. I never renew it, but so I was a member, and I remember they said something about free towing, or you get a tow or something with it. So I called them. They got me a tow truck driver. He came out on a flatbed, and we put the bike up on there, and I forgot to put it. Since I had the first one stolen, I added a security system to this with the remote, because it doesn't come stock on them. It's an added option. But anyway, we got out and started driving. The security car alarm or bike alarm going off the whole time, and I was like, hey, you want to pull over? I'll jump up there and put it in tow mode. And he's like, nah. So we drove like 15 miles, or well, from there probably about 20 miles to the dealership, with the alarm blaring, looking like idiots. And I felt like one, because I think I was one. But that's the first time I ever had a bike, first and only time I've ever had a bike towed. And coming off that, I got up on there on that flatbed. It was hot. That steel bed was a little slick. The brakes did not want, the front brake did not want to hold it coming off there. It was a nice little fun backwards back down slide on the bike. I'm thinking, since I'm recording this in kind of a high, I've never used the mode I'm using on my GoPro. It probably might be ready to die if it hasn't already. I've just got a small battery in. I've got others, but I don't record too much anymore. I remember how too many heavy vehicles come across this road. It wasn't compacted good enough. It's got all these high centers and dips. If I could, I'd like to at least make it to what I consider the air conditioners. There's some mine shafts. I don't know exactly what they mine out of there along these bluffs down the way, and it's like an air conditioner blowing on you whenever you drive past. Like in July and August when I'm riding out here and it's 90 plus degrees, it's always awesome to stop in front of those and just get a blast of cool air coming out of them. I mean, it's probably, I don't know for sure, but it feels like it's about, saying when it's 90 plus, it feels like it's about 60 degrees in front of those things. I'll actually maybe get cold today. Did that dude just blink? He may have flicked his lights at me, but I don't know. He's way back now, so could have just been him, bouncing up and down out of those potholes. The sun reflecting off it, giving the illusion of flickering lights. I've raced a train from here. I came around one time and saw a train coming through. I gunned it. I mean, I had plenty of time, but if I had putted along, I would have been stuck. I remember watching them. I mean, I beat them by a couple 100 yards, but I mean, I didn't have to wait for the Actually, I guess those look old enough that they've been there for a while, but I don't remember them. I probably am not crazy enough to go through around downed railway crossings. In my line of work, I've seen videos of a waste management guy. It's probably the most disturbing thing I've seen. And I've worked at airplane crashes when I was in the Navy. I went to Korean Flight 801. I was in Guam. A plane crashed. I was out there. I set up the morgue tent before we were even done. Clipped grass. Yay. Anyway, they started bringing in charred bodies, so I remember the smell of burning bodies and all that death and stuff. But through work, there was a video I had to watch. It's a waste management driver. He's got a camera on his garbage truck and then a camera on him, and they're side by side, and you just see him driving along like this, and then he makes a right. Now he's running parallel with some railroad tracks, and I didn't see a train, but you see this guy make that right turn, and just the horror in the guy's face. He knew it was coming, and yeah, he got boom. You just see one of the camera on the outside went flying, but yeah, he got broadsided by a train and killed. It wasn't gory, but the look of horror in that guy's face, knowing what was coming, knowing he was about to die, that really kind of sucks. I feel for him and his family. I have seen a lot of gory accident scene photos and stuff, but for some reason, because maybe it's because the life is out of the gory people. It was him seeing what was coming was what got to me. But let's not be all dark and gloomy. We'll be up on one of the old air conditioners soon. There's still a little flooding over there. Got a sport bike, a couple of sport bikes up on me. I think they're going around. Who knows, with my next bike, maybe I'll be able to keep up with them. Probably not. I won't say my next bike is faster than this. This bike, it's got the Vance & Hines pipes. It's got a tuner in it, so it's got the governor off. If I remember, on the trip I went to the Dragon and then on to Gulfport, Biloxi, and New Orleans I was crossing the Lake Pontchartrain Bridge on I-10, which it's different since I've been there when I was younger because of Katrina, but it's still long as shit. I have a Mustang I topped out on that bridge when I was young and dumb. Well, actually I about topped this thing off on it too with the tuner. All I know is it will do 120 with the governor removed, with the tune. And I was heavier then. I bet I weighed at least 60 to 70 pounds more than I do right now. And I had a big old backpack strapped to the back, full of gear. And yeah, I just decided that bridge is long, traffic was going crazy, so I topped her out, or I don't know if I even topped it out, but I'm pretty sure this bike doesn't have much more than 120 in it. I don't know. I think I had my phone mounted up with a GPS unit on there. So I'm thinking it was saying roughly the same thing on the like how speed for the GPS versus my speedo. Alright, well, I was going to keep it a secret, but I think I'll go ahead and say it. The video may not even be recording now, but I'm trading this in on a Honda. Yep. Sacrilege, maybe, but it's not a Honda Cruiser. It's not a Honda sports bike. See, my dirt bike died. I'm getting a it's basically not an adventure bike because it's still basically a dirt bike. In a 2022 CRF 450 RL. It's basically a street legal dirt bike. It's a little heavier. It's got some emissions stuff on it that's choking it back. I've read about some issues that they have, but I just want to get back on the dirt and ride trails. And my CR250, I had to put a top in and I had to rebuild it, and I took it all apart, noticed some things with the case. I still may finish fixing it, but I got it all back together and it's still fucked up. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to curse. It's still messed up, but I just don't want to. I don't want to rip it apart again. And I kind of would like one that I can ride to the trails instead of towing. And I keep that my dirt bike's about 2.5 hours away at my parents' place in southeast Missouri. And yeah, with the CRF I'll be able to ride it down there. Now a 2-hour ride on a street legal dirt bike doesn't sound super fun. Well, I don't know, we'll see. But I'm pretty excited. It'll be wheelie time. Probably not that much, but my Honda dirt bike, my CR250, it's a 2003. I bought that in 2005. It was brand new. It was just old stock. I paid $3,500 for it, brand new. I looked at used ones now for 2003. I'm going for more than that. You know, Harley's not the only one that's charging an arm and a leg for bikes anymore. Basically, that CRF out the door is going to be $11,000. I've already ordered a new seat for it. I'm probably going to order a tuner and a pipe for it. Some Bart Busters or hand guards. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull in up here. There's one. Oh, they got that AC right there. Oh, I felt it. It's a little chilly. It's a bigger effect in the summer. All these little boom. Motherfucker, don't get up on me. I put my signal on. Goddamn idiot. Fucking glad he didn't roll. Fucking dumbass. Well, that's one of the things you have to deal with on a bike. I haven't had it happen a whole lot, but that's one of them. Alright, let's see